just get started. Obviously no games last week, and it was disappointed. As was Wisconsin, that we weren't able to get those games in. But that's the day and age that we're in right now, and you have to listen to the medical guys, and that's what was best. They were here and headed home, so we altered our schedule a little bit. We've been going, we had planned 6 games in 12 days, so we've been pretty busy, and we ended up just taking Monday off, Sunday, getting in 2 days of practice, taking a day off, 2 days of practice, getting a day off, and then starting this week in similar fashion with finals week. So we went Monday, skated today as well. We'll take tomorrow off, and most of the guys are pretty much done by the end of tomorrow. So that gives them a good chunk today to study and get ready and take tests, and then finish up tomorrow. That'll be our day off, and then practice Thursday and head down to Notre Dame on Friday.
All right, just go ahead and put your questions in the chat, and we'll go from there. Neil.
Yes, Danton, I suspect you watched the Notre Dame series with Ohio State and maybe a few others video. What's your impressions of them right now, and any changes from the last few years about their style of play?
We definitely watched, and you're home for the weekend and you catch some football, but when the games are on, it's fun to watch. And they're just a good hockey team, and there's a lot of similar. Everybody changes a little bit, but overall, I think they play the same way. They make it tough on you coming through the neutral zone, and tough to establish a forecheck and get going and getting pucks in that. So really, from a battle plan, it's very similar to before. You want to make sure that you're doing a good job through the neutral zone when there's nothing there, getting it behind them, and don't give them too many turnovers in transition. And then, when you're in, you got to figure out ways moving the puck quick and funneling things to the net and give yourself a chance.
Do you know Dylan St. Cyr from the program when he was there?
I do. He was with the other group, but he was there, both years when I was there. So yeah, no, Dylan real well. Nice young man.
Sam, go ahead.
So you guys have obviously had a lot of time in between the last games and then this upcoming week against Notre Dame. So I was just kind of wondering if there have been any sort of points of emphasis in practice on something you guys want to improve on besides obviously preparing for Notre Dame.
Yeah, we looked at, we had that day, once we found out we weren't playing Wisconsin, we took that day off, and that was good, and allowed the coaches to meet as well. And, really we said, hey, we've got, with the days we had off, we had, 8 practices between, that time and next Saturday, or this coming Saturday. So, we picked some areas out, and, in just this time of the year, you always look at, breaking the puck out, coming through the neutral zone. Today we did some forecheck and some defensive zone stuff. So, just kind of hitting on all the areas and kind of, mixing that in with some skill work. But every day we've been doing, probably the primary thing is every day we've done power play work, like as a whole, and then penalty kill skills, or penalty kill work as a whole, and power play skills. And those two usually fit well together. But that's just an area where we haven't got a lot of reps, and it's different doing it in games and practice. But now with some real good, games under our belt, the 6 games, at least we've got a little bit of feel for the intensity and the pace that you have to play at both ends. So that's probably been our biggest point of emphasis.
Nate.
In that second game against Minnesota, Christoph Papp not dressing. Have you seen, after that game in this practices, have you seen maybe a pickup from his play? Or?
Well, one thing that we wanted is, want him to watch and just see how hard you have to play in terms in the corners and battling for the puck and the plays you have to make, and that always comes from practice situations. So that's what we talked to him about, and he's been great. He's always practiced hard, and I think he's just, maybe elevated a little bit and found himself in those battles and winning those, and that's how you get confidence in things, is by going through and doing things right over and over and over again. So I've been real happy with his play. We've tried him a little bit on the wing. He's been still with Mueller and Lewandowski, and he's done a nice job.
Scott.
So when you're saying that you still have Christoph Pep with Mueller and Louis, that you're implying that Mueller is still taking most of the draws like he was against Minnesota on a line with Louis and Kyle Haskins.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, until things, as always, until things change. But no, that's the way we've been working here in the last little bit.
Anyone else out there?
I have another if I can ask.
Sure.
All right. So obviously, well, young defenses here. How have you liked the play of Nash Nienhuis and Aiden Gallagher, fitting them in with Tommy and Christian?
Yeah, you know what? I think they've done a nice job, and normally by now they'd probably be in a real good place because we'd have 14 games under our belt or so, and with only being 6. But I think the first night against Minnesota, I thought they were kind of average, and we talked about it, and then I thought the second night they made a real nice step, and they have a good feel of what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do things, and as young guys, sometimes it's just a matter of just getting loose and confident and just quit thinking and go play, and just kind of, hey, you got to rely on your training at that point. So I thought they made a nice little bump the next night, and there was a lot of reasons we played better the next night, but those two guys having a better game was a big part of it, and they can both move the puck, they both can defend, and they're going to be very good players for us, and that's it's part of the maturation of young defensemen, and it's a tough league for young guys to jump into, but I was real happy with the progress they've made, and they'll continue to make that progress, and it'll help us.
Neil.
Yes, Dan, over the last few years, Notre Dame's been a tough opponent for the Spartans. But last year, you guys had good success against them with victories in East Lansing and then down there. What did you do last year to maybe turn the tide a little bit and be able to beat them more often than maybe previous seasons?
Yeah, that was kind of a hump we had to get over. And I mean, there was a lot of games where, 1-0, 2-1 games, and we just couldn't get out. We had game, I don't know if you remember the game where we had like 40 some shots on net and ended up with 1 goal. So I think the key with that is you play tough team, and then they have a pretty good understanding on how to, we always call it nickel and dime in a game, figuring out how to win games like that. And that's a compliment, and good teams do, and keeping you off the board and defending real well. And I think, one thing we were able to do last year was just, continue and understand that, don't lose that patience, and as I said earlier, make sure you do a good, clean job coming through the neutral zone and getting pucks in and spend as much time in the offensive zone as you can. And then on the other end, make sure you're defending real well, because they've got a lot of dangerous guys on their team that, you make a mistake, they can break you down. There's a lot of talent there on the offensive side as well. So you got to play a really good 60-minute game. And I thought we were close a lot of times in terms of having a good, season series against them. But I thought last year, we won a couple games, and that gives you a little confidence, and you get on the right side of it, and you start, hey, it's believing you can win is a way different mindset that thinking that you can win, and that's where you got to get to. And sometimes it's hard to get through that wall, but I thought our guys did last year, and I think they did that with a lot of teams where we started thinking that, hey, you know what, we belong and we can win these games. And hey, you know what, we ended up with the second most wins in the Big Ten last year, and it's a hard league, and you got to bring it every night. But I think all those lessons start adding up, and it hopefully folds into your culture. And sometimes you'll win some games just on that alone, believing in what you're doing and sticking with it. And I think this group's carried through a decent amount of that, and it should be an interesting series this weekend.
One more thing, Danton, what's the procedure for your team after this weekend as far as the kids going home? And if they do go home, when do they come back to start the second part of the season?
So, most of the guys are going to take off Monday. We play Sunday night, and we'll come back. We might have we still haven't. There might be a couple of guys that just leave right from the game, like guys that are in Chicago or something like that. But they'll have a week off. There's some guys that have to get back a little bit earlier just because of travel and getting here. And then if they're just in Michigan or staying around here, Doc has a kind of a tiered thing set up. So if they're in a certain area, they come back, and everybody will have to test negative 3 times 3 days before they can practice. And then some of the other guys are going to have to be back here and in town for 7 days before they practice, plus the test. So they're all kind of on different pages, depending on how far away they're going. But most of the guys that are far away aren't heading that way. Europe's a tough sell right now for guys, and even Western Canada, I think the guys are sticking around here.
But most of the kids will be back after Christmas, though, right? Not before.
Yes, yeah. Most of the guys will be back on the 27th, and then we'll test the 28th, 29th, 30th, and then start practice. Now that could change depending on the schedule.
Yeah.
And like I said, we'll get the drivers back, and we'll try and push that up a little bit. But right now, we've had to kind of have a plan, so that's what we've kind of settled on.
Rico.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Rico.
Hey, talk to me about where you are and where the program is with this so-called new normal. I mean, you've had a few weeks to be inside of all of this. You've had a series canceled and everything. Have anything in your approaches changed, or it's just kind of steady the ship as it goes and just kind of play what cards you're dealt?
Yeah, well, I mean, that you kind of have to be in that mode. Whatever happens. Like we had no control over the situation last week, and again, we're disappointed. Okay, well, let's move on, and that's kind of how we have to deal with every series coming up, and hopefully there won't be too many. That was the first Big Ten series, and hopefully the only one for the year. But hey, there could be other ones pop up. So you have to be ready, and that's what we've told our guys is that, hey, let's. We got to keep training. We got to stick with it. And if something goes sideways, then we'll deal with it. And we can only take care of, what's in front of us and the things we control. So that's how we've kind of gone about that. And that's what we've done this last week, and try and get ourselves ready for the next game. And then, on top of that is just continually talking to the guys about, the areas that you got to be real careful with. And it only takes one guy to, have a bad night, and by a bad night, that's just being in the wrong place and around too many people that are kind of outside of our group and bringing it back to the team. So it's that vigilance, and it's hard. They're young men, and we've all been there. We know what that's like, and you don't always make the right decisions, but our job is just, hey, every day or so we're just remind them, hey, we're the NFL doctor said, where you meet, eat, and greet people, which is kind of a good way to remember. If you're meeting up with people, that's a dangerous area. If you're out and eating in congested areas, that's it. And then greeting people as well. Just be real smart in those areas. And the same thing over Christmas is, you've got your bubble of your family. I've got the bubble of my family. It's gonna be my mom, my sister, and my daughters. And, some of them are testing before they're coming in, and we'll just have to be, like I said, vigilant and take care of the season, because we have more than just a couple weeks of, hey, maybe you get sick and you miss some things. We could miss games. We could, take down our season and do some bad things. So it's a lot of pressure on them, I think, but so far they've handled it real well, and that's the way we'll keep moving.
Okay, thank you.
Scott.
Yeah. So obviously, big freshman class this year. There are a couple of guys we still haven't seen on the ice yet this year. Pal Connor, Cal Dibbich, Pierce Charleston. You think we'll see them anytime soon? Pierce getting a start, or Powell coming in?
Yeah, you know what? We're real comfortable with them. They've done a nice job, and we're 6 games in. If you think back to a normal season, you're still in October, and if a freshman hadn't got in, but you're right. Now you're thinking, hey, it's Christmas. But their job is to make sure that they're ready, make sure they're practicing at the highest level they can and being ready. And the goalies get a ton of extra time with Coach Exter. So Pierce is going, and Coach Luongo's spending a ton of time with the D-men. So those other guys are getting extra ice before and after, and they'll get their chance. And we've been happy with them. But you know what? Our 6D that have been playing have done a nice job, and Drew has done a nice job. And sometimes you got to wait. And then when, their job though is when they get that opportunity, make it hard for us to take them out. Ask Wally Pipp, how'd that go when he sat out one game, So, there's going to be an opportunity, and it's up to you to be ready. But they've done a nice job, and they're in a good place mentally, and they're working very hard.